Fine.
All right, we will now call to order the May 11th regular meeting of the Board of Education. Thank you for attending the regular meeting of the board. I would like to remind you that school board meetings in Nebraska are meetings held in public, not public meetings. During the public comment section, the public may address the board on agenda items and other miscellaneous topics. All right, Sheila, can we get roll call, please?
Emily Garrick.
Present.
Angela Blazy.
Present.
Mitch Wagner.
Present.
Skip Allstate.
Present.
Joanne Lund-Green.
Present.
Cindy O'Connor.
Present.
All right. And for our mission statement, North Platte Public Schools is a destination school district and community that embraces innovative opportunities and distinguished programs to create highly competitive advantages for all students, instilling the canteen spirit in an evolving world. The canteen spirit embodies generosity, selflessness, and unwavering support through service, pride, collaboration, and grit. The Nebraska Open Meetings Act legislates the methods by which public meetings are conducted. Information pertaining to this act is posted here in the boardroom. At this time, I would now entertain a motion to approve the publication of the May 11th, 2026 meeting of the Board of Education.
I'll make a motion to approve the publication of the May 11th, 2026 regular meeting of the Board of Education. Second.
Notices of Board of Education meetings and hearings are placed in the North Platte Telegraph and the North Platte Bulletin. The agenda is available online at nppsd.org 4 days prior to each regular meeting of the North Platte Board of Education. Sheila, can we get roll call on that, please?
Angela Blazy.
Aye.
Mitch Wagner.
Aye.
Skip Allstate.
Aye.
Joanne Lund-Green. Aye. Cindy O'Connor.
Aye.
Emily Garrick.
Aye. Motion passes. At this time, I would now entertain a motion to approve the agenda for the May 11th, 2026 regular meeting of the North Platte Public Board of Education.
I make a motion to approve the agenda for the May 11th, 2026 regular meeting of the Board of Education.
Second.
Roll call, please, Sheila.
Mitch Wagner.
Aye.
Skip Allstate.
Aye.
Joanne Lund-Green. Aye. Cindy O'Connor.
Aye.
Emily Garrick.
Aye.
Angela Blazy.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. At this time, please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we will start this evening off with our special presentation of the April Bulldogs of the Month.
So after an awesome graduation day yesterday, we have two seniors that have returned for recognition for the April Bulldogs of the Month. These guys are some heavy hitters, you guys. They represent 1/3 of our highest distinction award winners at North Platte High School this year. Proud to introduce Carter and Molly. So we'll invite Carter Stewart up first and have Molly Jorgensen come up second.
Hello. Okay, I'm Carter Stewart. I'm here with my mom today. Okay, I'm kind of tall, so this is kind of awkward, but no, it's an honor being the Bulldog of the Month for April, especially because being in April, having graduated yesterday, I get to really reflect on the entire experience of high school. So there's just so much special that went on, and I really feel grateful for everything that I've gone through, all the good memories, all the classes I've been through, all the bus rides, all the sports events, all that. It's been really special. And now being graduated, I can look back on all that and it's just a warm feeling. I felt welcome throughout all of high school and it's great memories. And now going forward, there's so much more to make out of life. But I'm grateful for having been part of North Platte High School for the last 4 years. Some good memories I would like to share, especially just yesterday, being in graduation. I really got to reflect on all that. There's a lot of fun, all the classes that I took. One particular class that I would like to point out is all of Mrs. Welch's classes. She was my math teacher for college algebra, statistics, trigonometry, and calculus this last semester. And she really helped to make education fun. Yes, we learned a lot of really hard math in that class, but also she took the time to make sure we all were cared for and we all were able to really get down into what we were learning and like get that into our brains and have fun with it too. Like there's a lot of shenanigans that went on that class. I would like to point out the one time that we brought a wedding cake in to celebrate, just to celebrate. And she was perfectly okay with that, supported us fully. And it really made that class special. Like that was genuinely like one of my favorite experiences throughout all of high school. I would also like to share just like my journey through sports. So the last few years, I've been a part of the track team, like long distance, and then for cross country. And Coach Hazenauer has been awesome with that. Like he's really helped me to develop as a person and to develop as an athlete. So when I started, I was just there for fun, but Coach really helped me move along, like really lock in and like become the best athlete that I can be. And I'm really proud of what I've accomplished so far. I actually have the honors of running in districts tomorrow, which is awesome. Like I know I graduated yesterday and I have to keep going to practice, but I think it's really fun to be able to really just see how far I've come from there. And I just all the support I've had along the way really makes me like feel like I belong here. And I will always remember just how awesome my high school experience was. Yeah. I'm kind of a math nerd, so going from here, I'm planning on going to UNL to study civil engineering. Mitch Welch really helped me find my path there. A lot of my STEM teachers, like that's really helped me find my path, and I'm really grateful that the people who I was around and surrounded me helped me find the path. And I'm really excited to really get on to the next step. I feel prepared. I feel prepared that like I am going to love what I'm going to do. And I appreciate that so, so, so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Carter.
Oops. Hello. My mom is here with me today. I've participated in basketball, soccer, student council, and National Honor Society through my high school career. As of yesterday, I graduated with highest distinction with a 4.0 GPA and was recognized as 2026 All Academic Program Honorable Mention. My favorite high school experience has got to be the activities I was in, particularly the soccer team. I have made countless friendships with the girls on this team and many memories that will last a lifetime. Another memorable experience was definitely prom. I had so much fun with all my friends and got crowned prom queen. That was such an unreal experience that I'm grateful for. And my plans after graduation is to go to Northeast Community College and study media arts, as well as play for the girls soccer team. Thank you.
Thank you. You both have some awards to come up and receive, and we'll make you be in yet another picture as well.
What I wanna be.
All right. Up next this evening, we have our NPHS education program. So we have Mr. Jonason and a couple of students here, Derek Bandy and Kyla Clark. You guys will go ahead and come on up.
Well, good evening. Thank you for allowing us to come speak and show you what we're doing through the course of the year. As you know, I'm Mr. Johnson, and I'm an FCS teacher, which is new to me this year, and kind of a little bit out of my element. But I'm excited to be here and finish year one, and that's been a great experience for me. And I've got two great students here that's been in two of my classes this year. I've got Kyla Clark here and Derek Bandy, who will speak to you a little bit on some of the things that they were able to accomplish in class and some of the things that we were able to do. So with our FCS class, courses that I teach is child development, lifespan development, and then I teach also the three education pathway courses, teaching as a profession, best practices in education, and then our education practicum that we have. So we'll start off first of all with child development, and Kyla will talk a little bit about our child development class.
Sorry. Hi, my name is Kyla Clark, and through child development, we learn about pregnancy all the way up to preschool. Recently, we did flower babies. We had a flower bag and we created flower babies out of that. We had a gender reveal party for them, a baby shower, and created the baby in the making. We cared for a baby for about a week, and we had to log all the information and create a baby book about how much we loved our baby. It helped me a lot to understand how it is to be a mother and carry that car seat around a lot. And that was really fun. So here's our class doing a lot of our projects, and there's a lot of babies in their car seat.
So we make the babies out of bags of flour, and then the students can clothe them, decorate them, and then they're responsible for them for about an entire week, and they have to haul them around and two classes and log everything that they do 24/7 with them. And then at the first, they're very, very excited, and then by Friday, they're ready to be done. So it's a great experience for our students to be part of that. And then we also have our preschool class. So we could also talk about that.
So we had 2 days to plan for our preschoolers, ages 3 to 5. We got to plan some activities that help them develop their pies, physical, emotional, intellectual, and social skills. And we got to observe them while they're doing all the things. So me and Derek decided to do snacks as the first activity of the day. And we just helped develop, like seeing them develop socially and physically and all that aspects. And they were really fun to have. A little wild the second day, but they're really a joy to have with us in class. And here's some pictures of us doing some arts and crafts. They love the parachute. And they love playing a lot. You know.
And if we go back to the last slide here on the bottom right, we did this 3 different times this year through the course, and we did one at Christmas time. And if you look at the bottom right-hand picture there, Santa Claus even was able to show up today. And he's in attendance as well today in our so that was kind of a special day for us. We also have lifespan development, and Derek will talk a little bit about our lifespan class.
So in the lifespan development, we learn about birth to death, and some of the things that we do is our birth, and then we have a mobile design. So basically you create your mobile, and then you're able to take it home, and either, I mean, if you have a child at home that's young enough, or you could give it to somebody and it just helps them interact in their crib. And it's also just as the same as child development. We learn about physical, intellectual, emotional, and social growth out of all those. I don't know the word. But then we also learn about puberty and adolescence. So it's just seeing how much that we mature over the course of just a couple of years into a short class. And we did a mock wedding, but the mock wedding was last year, and we did the inaugurational wedding this year, but Jonathan didn't get any pictures of that. So we just had to use the mock wedding pictures. And a last couple of things that we did was we did our bucket list, so we could look back on that when we were older. And we did a letter to ourselves so we could read it back when we were 25. And we also did an obituary about ourselves, and we had to do it in like third person, and then we did a video over it. And here's just some examples of the mobiles that took place in our class. And then here's the mock wedding. This was basically like ours, but in our wedding, I actually dressed up in a suit, and we had a flower girl, and she spread flowers or like pieces of paper on the floor, and we used all the desks to one side, and just made an entrance, and then we had cake, and we had songs for the wedding in there. And then we also had a wedding reception. Me and Liv, when we got married, we drew it up like on the board, and then we wrote like all the attendees on the side. And yeah, we did the cutting of the cake too. And yeah.
So we did that for just one day, and the kids really took to that and planned for that, and it was kind of a fun planning experience for them, and got to act it out. And so we went from the start to the end with everything from planning it, like I said, to the reception afterward, and actual cake at the end of the period. So that was kind of a fun experience. And then the last little bit that we're going to talk about is the education pathway classes that we're starting at the high school. And as you guys are aware, we're short on teachers, and so anything that we can do to get our kind of hooks started with our young students and get them interested in education at the high school level, there'll be a leg up on people when they go to college, and then hopefully eventually we can get them interested enough so that we can get them back here. And that's kind of the goal. And so we have 3 classes that we go through. The first one is teaching as a profession, and that one is basic just understanding of education, talking a little bit about vocabulary, how learners grow and develop, teaching philosophies, methods of assessment, also just, job possibilities out there, et cetera. One of the first things that I do with them at the start is try to treat it like a classroom for the first time. When you're the first day of school, you got to put up bulletin boards. And so we have a bulletin board activity where the students create their own bulletin boards in groups and get their classroom ready to start the year. And so that's what the pictures there that you see are a couple of bulletin boards that our students had created as well. And then the secondary class, the second level class, is the best practices in education. This obviously assesses and implements appropriate strategies and differentiation, different assessments. Again, we cover that a little bit deeper. They get to dive into lesson plan design, what communication looks like, positive feedback to their students. We model those best practices through work-based learning experience, where they're about 50-50 in my classroom, and then out in the schools doing observations and seeing different things. So we rotated this year between Washington, Madison, and Adams. And so we spent 4 class periods each there that we went over and did that. And this scene is at Washington that you see. And then we also had what I called M&M Mondays, and that was Mrs. Matuzak and McBean in the special needs classrooms. And so our students went down there on Mondays and helped and assisted in there. And so they really enjoyed those things as well. And then the third part we just got done with was the fourth quarter class, which is the actual education practicum, where they're actually in the classrooms, they're observing, and they're getting some hands-on experience by either helping students individually or teaching the class in small groups. And then they even have to teach a couple full lessons within a classroom setting. And so the students really worked that. They had to put a portfolio together at the end, which is involved with something that they can take tangible with them to the next level and hopefully use as they continue on with their career. With resumes and philosophies and different things like that. And so one of the things that I would like to do is, I'm going to start with, I had 2 students this year in that practicum class, and we're growing it. I want to start an education pathway hall of fame. We're going to put our students up in the hallway and create a kind of a hall of fame to recognize them. Each of my students got Mrs. Odell made the apples and future educators, and we each gave them one of those, and we took the picture. And so we're gonna put those up around the school, hopefully somewhere in the hallways. And then those two students, Tate just graduated. His plans is to go on into secondary social studies and attend UNL. And he did his time with Mrs. Root at Adams. And then Rachel Kraft, she did her time in fourth grade at Washington with Mrs. McIntosh. And so both of them had excellent experiences. As a matter of fact, Rachel's was so well, they invited her today to go to their student fun day out at Buffalo Bill Ranch. And so she was very excited. So I'm waiting to hear how she enjoyed that tomorrow when I talk to her. So. But that is our presentation for today. And we greatly appreciate you guys having us and listening to all the good things we have and the great students that I have in my classes. So thank you very much for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Terry, we are ready for you with the foundation report.
Just the mic here. Good evening, Board of Education. First, I want to share that North Platte Giving Day was a success for Kids Club, raising close to $5,000. So thanks to the many donors who stepped forward to support this important program to the families that it serves. We're also gearing up for the Bulldog Golf Classic on May 29th. Hershey State Bank is serving up as our technology sponsor this year. We currently have only 2 4-person teams left to fill. So if you're a golfer, step on up and get those 2 teams filled up for us. This event benefits not only the foundation, but also the North Platte High School Booster Club. In addition, all 37 sponsors will receive a Booster Club membership for the 2026-2027 school year. Looking ahead, Evening of Excellence, Christmas in July will take place on July 24th at venue 304. We have outstanding auction items, so be watching social media for those being released ahead of time. We've got unique centerpieces created by the welding students, and they were using the plasma CNC table to create them, and all of those will be auctioned off as well. Of course, they're Christmas themed, so it'll be perfect. All 3 distinguished alumni will be in attendance, and we're also recognizing our teacher and employees of the year. This year, we opened up the voting to both the community and internal staff members for Teacher and Employee of the Year. From those that were on the list were those of the monthly award winners. We got that question quite a bit on Facebook of how did these people get chosen, and they were our monthly award winners throughout the school year. There's so many deserving individuals. We still received letters about other individuals in the district that they felt like they should get that award. So it's a very hard decision to make every year. And last year's Teachers and Employee of the Year were part of that committee to choose this year's. And later this week, you'll be able to find out who those honorees are. Finally, this morning, we started off with an academic pep rally over at the high school. The foundation's incredibly excited to support this leadership initiative that celebrates academic achievement and encourages students to strive for excellence. I don't know that I could do it as much justice. If you would allow, I'd like Mr. Spatansky to come forward because I don't really want to mess up the numbers. And they're really cool numbers this year. So Mr. Spatansky, would you join me, please?
So this morning, we were blessed to have several members of the community come out and present iPads and MacBooks and just different certificates to students that had done some exceptional work on the ACT. So this year, some of the highlights, we had 196 kids that actually completed all their John Baylor test prep from start to finish. That was an incentive that was the lowest tier that got them out of Bulldog time for the remainder of the year. So 196 kids were able to celebrate that. We had, that's about 67% of our student body in that class. We had 10 students that were recognized with a computer. That was up from 6 last year and 0 the year before for those that scored a 30 or better. We did have 13 students that scored a 25 to 29, and those were recipients of an iPad. 59 more kids were recognized with certificates from 20 to 24, and we had 38 students that were 18 and 19 that were in that lowest tier of incentives. Looking at the data, there was 41 more students that were just maybe a question or two away from getting into that. So we'll hatch a plan and we'll put it together and start to game plan around that for next year, but wouldn't be possible without the foundation, wouldn't be possible without the partnerships in the community. So folks from Fat Dogs and Weathercraft were there today. We had Quick Stop representation. The Kashke family donated an awful lot. The Poppy family as well as the Bauman family. Those were major donors for the iPads. The foundation made a lot of contributions towards the MacBooks. We also had the Bauman family responsible for several of those as well. And then Mayor Keller also made a donation for one of the MacBooks. So it was an awesome pep rally for our freshmen, sophomore, and junior students that will move up to our sophomores, juniors, and seniors next year. Great to see the excitement of the students when their peers are recognized as recipients for those awards too. So awesome.
And thank you for Mrs. Albrecht taking pictures all day, all morning. So
I'll tell you what, I mean, the teamwork that happens in our building around that, from our counseling staff to our teaching staff, through everyone, that's what makes it happen. So we're blessed to have some of the best there. So thank you.
all right, thank you.
Thank you
Any
both.
questions? Thank you.
Yeah, any questions from the board? Sorry, Terry, didn't
That's okay.
hold you up. Thank you. We appreciate that. And thank you, Mr. Spatansky. All right, at this time, we will move on to the public comment portion of our agenda. Public questions and comments may take place at this time in the agenda. Individuals who want to address the board must complete a guidelines for public comments form with the date, topic addressing, name, address, and the name of any organization you represent, and give it to the board clerk prior to the meeting. Okay. All right, so then I will finish my spiel. When called upon by the presiding officer, the individuals shall proceed to the table and state their name and address. An individual may not exceed 5 minutes, and total time for all individuals who want to speak shall not exceed 30 minutes unless a majority vote of the board approves extending the allocated time. This time for public comment shall not be used to address specific individual student discipline or employee performance issues. Complaint and grievance processes are in place to deal with issues of this nature. And I always like to give an acknowledgement in case there's someone who's speaking tonight that hasn't. The board is not able to interact back and forth with you on this, but if it is an item that is on our agenda tonight, if you have questions, it's something that we can address later in the agenda. All right, thank you.
So my name is Corey Spatansky, 4140 Brentwood Circle, North Platte, Nebraska. I come before you tonight as a community member, a proud parent of a North Platte Public School student, and the principal of North Platte High School with a great deal of Bulldog pride. Over the last 4 years, I've attended nearly every board meeting. During the first couple of years on the board, the work was fairly clear and consistent with the focus entirely on students. Monthly conversations focused on student learning, student experiences, and how we could best support our students. There was an alignment in providing teachers with resources they need and supporting administrators who could in turn support staff and students to the best of their abilities. Over the last couple of years, it seems that clarity has faded. During that time, we've adopted a strategic plan that defined who we are. A destination school district that embraces innovation, holds high expectations, that yield excellence, believes in excellence that is worth the investment, keeps students at the clear center of every decision, and asks us to remain good stewards of our resources. Interestingly, though, the dialogue in our board meetings has shifted away from students and towards topics and perspectives that do not directly support student learning, student experiences, or how we can best support students, staff, or administration. The conversations do not focus on improving the day-to-day work in our schools. Instead, recent meeting time has been largely spent on issues like Google Vault. These conversations are often lined with individual viewpoints and personal agendas that has created division and weakened trust in our staff and this board. It's not aligned with our mission or our beliefs or the parameters that we've set as a district. A wise person once told me that meaningful change only happens when there's a clear and compelling reason why. Clear is kind, and I believe that's why I'm speaking tonight. Right now, because of inconsistent words and actions, there's no clear why for some of these unfocused decisions. As a result, we're losing outstanding people. They're teammates who have dedicated their entire career to help our students, our staff, and our schools improve. They put clear plans in place to allow our schools to advance beyond needs support to improve, to good, great, and even excellent. They've collaborated with staff and administration to create the conditions for continued student improvement to that excellence we talk about in the district plan. We need a board that functions as a collaborative partner, one that works with our district in building teams, plans for the future with the right people and the needed programs in mind. One that trusts our leadership and believes that we can bring our mission, our beliefs, and our goals to life through clear guidance and shared purpose. This work requires integrity, and it requires a focus on we and us and our, and not so much on I and me. It requires a clear understanding of why you serve and a commitment to act on it beyond a personal agenda, individual viewpoints, or personal experiences in this district. We ask our students and staff to reflect on their words and actions often. Now I'm going to ask you to reflect. What's the purpose for your role? What impact do you want to have? Is your current impact supporting that student growth and student learning? Is your current impact strengthening the culture our staff needs to do their best work for our students? How does the aftermath of your impact set us up for success moving forward? Be honest and reflect. And once you have those answers, tell us so that we can work together. And more importantly, let the actions that you have moving forward speak louder than any words. If there's not a shift in the board's approach, there's most certainly going to be repercussions that at the very least will negatively impact those willing to fill important roles that we have in our district in coming years. But more consequently, it's going to negatively impact our ability to live out our mission of being the destination school district that we set out to be. Board, I think this is how we move forward together with our focus where it belongs on collaborating and reaching consensus for our students and for our staff. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Amy Albrecht and I live at 680 East Tumbleweed Lane. I'm here tonight as a community member, a parent of 3 students in this district, and a counselor at the high school. I'm speaking out of frustration and concern for the direction of this district. We've heard multiple times that negative impacts within this district have caused someone to leave their teaching position. And at this point, it's hard not to question whether that experience is now influencing decisions in a way that is creating negative experiences for others. This year alone, we have lost strong, long-tenured, respected administrators, and this is not normal and it should not be dismissed. People don't leave environments where they feel supported, valued, and able to do their jobs well. As someone who has spent time in attendance meetings, working with students, planning interventions, and tracking that ACT prep, I can confidently say that that work is happening in our school. It is thoughtful, it is intentional, and it is driven by dedicated professionals. That work is happening in our buildings by the educators and staff who show up every day. It does not happen at this board table. Approving funding is not the same as doing the work, and it's not the same as owning the outcomes. When we hear board members take credit for the efforts, it's not just discouraging, it's frustrating. It reflects a disconnect from the day-to-day reality in our schools, especially when there's been little visible presence by board members in our building. Our staff cares deeply about these student outcomes, and they are the ones doing the work. But that work is significantly harder when there's instability and a lack of trust. So I want to ask you directly, what does humility look like to you? And what should teamwork at this level of leadership be? Because from where many of us sit, those qualities are not visible. I have loved my time working under Dr. Rhodes, Mrs. Carlson, and Mrs. Busher. They created an environment where I felt supported and I could focus on student growth. Since that leadership has shifted and we face additional transitions, there's been a noticeable change in climate. That change is not abstract. It is being felt by staff, which ultimately impacts our students. This board does get to set the tone of that climate, and right now it's contributing to people leaving. I'm not sitting here tonight to ask you to change because that request has been made and it's not led to meaningful action. What I'm asking is for this: support our administration and prioritize retaining strong leaders in the district. Stability starts here. Right now, that stability is missing and we're feeling it. Ultimately, that's how you can impact students. I would welcome the opportunity to come back and thank this board and give you the credit for creating a stable, supportive environment in North Platte Public Schools. Our students and the people serving them deserve better.
Thank you. All right, at this time, we will move on to our consent agenda. A consent agenda, also known by Robert's Rules of Order as a consent calendar, groups routine meeting discussion points into a single agenda item. In so doing, the grouped items can be approved in one action rather than through the filing of multiple motions. Documentation concerning these items has been provided to all board members and the public in advance to assure an extensive and thorough review. Items may be removed from the consent agenda at the request of any board member. At this time, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay. Tonight's consent agenda includes the following items. 9.1, approve the minutes of the April 13th, 2026 regular meeting of the Board of Education. 9.2, approve the minutes of the April 30th, 2026 Board of Education Committee of the Whole meeting. 9.3, approve the teaching contract for Danny Perriott, effective for the 2026-2027 school year. 9.4, approve the teaching contract of Julie Walrud, effective for the 2026-2027 school year. 9.5, approve the teaching contract of Kent Chrisman, effective for the 2026-2027 school year. 9.6, approve the teaching contract of Jace Goebel, effective for the 2026-2027 school year. 9.7, approve the teaching contract of Kelly Beveridge, effective for the 2026-2027 school year. 9.8, approve the administrative contract for Kelsey Cahill, effective July 1st, 2026. 9.9, approve the administrative contract for Mark Grove, effective July 1st, 2026. 9.10, approve the resignation of Kimberly Egan Woods, effective on or about May 14th, 2026. And 9.11, approval of financial claims and reports, which are attached to the agenda, and this month was completed by Joanne and Mitch. Okay. And do either of you have a recommendation to make to the board on accepting those?
I recommend that we accept the claims and reports as they were presented to us.
You agree? Okay. All right. If there are no questions or discussion on this consent agenda, then I would go ahead and ask for a roll call vote, Sheila.
Aye.
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 Okay, motion passes. We do have a couple of reports and discussion items tonight. So the first is our monthly financial and budget report. So we'll go ahead and turn this over to Dr. McDonald.
Okay, thank you. What you have in your report is a hard copy, is just first one is for the general fund again. And it is a complete report in regards to where we currently are through April. We have receipted in the month of April, $3,672,357.76. Our expenditures for the month of April were $4,379,024.73. You go clear to the right, you can see that the payroll and payables for each month, and then their average currently is there at the bottom right. Our current cash on hand is a negative $2,345,381.72. We continue to use our inter funds to balance that moving forward with all of our through depreciation, building, employee benefit, qualified capital purpose undertaking fund, to name a few. So we currently do not have a line of credit, and we are able to balance the general fund moving forward. Again, through the month of April, we're currently almost 7.4% under budget. So that's a good sign. Looking at next month for May, again, that will be a large receipt month. We're looking at in the upwards of 13 to 14 million for the month of May for receipts, which is great news. And it is similar to what we've seen in the past years. June, July, and August will be low receipt months, and so May will have to carry us forward to balance us for the end of the year. We do have some grant funds that are continuing to be out there with Title I ESSA funds that we would be receiving as well, so that will help balance some of those receipts moving forward June and July to offset those low receipts as far as property tax and school credit from that aspect. So that's currently where we are. The cash flow chart is at the bottom there. You can see obviously the expenditures again is pretty stable, and then your receipts ebb and flow as the year progresses as far as the budget is concerned. So any questions in regards to the general fund?
Dr. McDonald, I had one question, and you might either be getting to this later or we might touch base on this next month. So it's okay if we don't know yet. But when we had talked before about budget, you had kind of projected if we kept trending the way we were trending, what we would look like kind of end of year as far as cash on hand and where you thought we would be starting next year, which of course is then going to impact some of our conversations about where we set that levy rate next year. Do you have has anything changed on that, or do you have any sort of update where you're thinking we may be?
I don't, just because of where the receipts in May end up here, and so it'll give me a better idea, because I'll have a better idea as far as the lower receipt months in June, July, when I look back at previous years to get an average, which would tell us, moving forward, so then we can have some discussions here, especially in June and July in regards to what those budgetary numbers will start to look like, we can expect.
Perfect. Thank you.
The next report was just your cash flow report. There is one correction on there that I caught right before the meeting, and I gave you an updated report there, and that was on the cooperative fund. Last month there was $1,000 revenue, and this month there is no revenue, and I just missed that on there, so that I zeroed that out. So just so you're aware of that, but you can see that our total funds as far as the beginning cash is concerned was $3,985,402.31. Revenues for the month there were $4,103,048.11. Expenditures were $4,822,324.19, leaving us with an ending cash balance of $266,126.23 for the month. And again, that should improve next month with the receipts that we will receive at that time. So bank reconciliation is also a part of this report. And then the enrollment comparison, when you get into that, it is a true comparison. As I had stated in previous months, one of the differences between this month, I went back and corrected from April and May numbers, and the correction was not that the students we weren't serving, it was the students that were in the buildings that we were serving. So there's some partial students that receive services, whether through special education, whether that be through parochial or private situations that were also a part of these reports. So this report gives you a true picture of the students that are currently within each of our buildings and within each of our classrooms moving forward. So it does give you the building capacity, and the capacity variances there on the second column down. Just to give you an idea of where we're currently at with our enrollments. Questions that you have?
On that Buffalo one, I mean, it looks like we're at full capacity for what we have now, but next year, does that change and we'll have more?
So the Buffalo capacity is based on actual elementary capacity when it was an elementary.
Oh, okay.
So if it ever went back to an elementary, that would be the capacity number. But with with being an early childhood, there's, they do need more space within those classrooms. So a lot of those classrooms are doubled in size just because of Rule 11 and the compliance that we have to have there for the room space. So that's what the capacity is when you see the difference in those two numbers.
Right.
Actually, I think it's 276 is the capacity for Buffalo Elementary when it's an elementary school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good question. Okay, any other questions from the board on finances? Thank you, Dr. McDonald. Okay, our next item on here is just a discussion item, and we're going to be just taking a look at and discussing enrollment data. And I will warn those of you watching, a lot of this data, this is the first time the board has seen it. So if you see us up here perusing through documents for a little while before a question is asked or that type of thing, just know that there's some stuff here that we're digesting. But for some context here, I've just heard a number of concerns that have been brought to me about what's happening in our community, what growth is looking like in our buildings. I've had concerns that there's been scuttles and rumors about consolidating buildings. And I think we need to push a pause on any of those discussions until we are actually looking at information. So I just want to be clear, this is strictly for us to look at enrollment information, start looking at trends, and what I would anticipate would kind of be our next steps here would be to start looking at what costs of buildings are, looking at housing developments and where people are moving in, and really just having a clear picture of what those things look like in each of our buildings so that as our community's needs change, we're prepared as a board to address them. So I want to be very clear, we are not discussing consolidating buildings at this time. That is not a conversation that the board is moving forward, but we are looking at data so that if there is anything that comes up in the future, we are prepared to discuss those. So, Dr. McDonald, do you want to kind of provide an overview of what we have in front of us as far as class size reports, and then board will certainly give you some time to digest those as well.
Yeah, so the information that was requested was just in regards to each of the elementary buildings and each of the classes that were there, the number of students that were in each of those classes, and then at the bottom of that was the averages within each of, if you took an average of the building itself within each of those classes, that would be the average number of students. And so that was on each of the elementaries. The other ones would be for Madison Middle School. And those were, what I tried to do was take each department based on the number of students that were within each of those class periods. And then clear to the right gave you an average of what that was per day within each of those classrooms for Madison. And then also I did the same thing for Adams and the same thing for high school as well. And tried to present some information so you could see the number one, the difference in, what, and it probably depends on each and every year. I know that there are some Rule 10 compliance checks that we have to have, graduation requirements that the students have to have. And there's also some electives, and, that of course goes with those interests each and every year for those students. And within those classes. So those are the numbers that you see before you. And that's kind of, or I guess it's not kind of, but that's what we use when we look at and what Mr. Mills looks at and brings forward in regards to some of what is trending within the district currently. And what we've been noticing. And I think that you've referenced some of that as far as what is trending and where some of the development is and some of the housing and some of the movement has been currently. We've seen a little bit of an uptick late in the school year within some of our elementary classes. And so we have a plan moving forward to address some of those classes that maybe need to move to a 3-track from a 2-track. And so we're ready to go for next year in regards to those classrooms. I guess the other thing to look at, or what has been discussed in past was maybe looking at boundaries. You know, what are the school boundaries? What do they look like? There is software within the district, within our IT department that they put together in the past. I think that there was some rebounding or redistricting at some point. I don't know how many years ago that has been. You know, then in regards to numbers and if there needs to be movement in regards to capacity and where the buildings are for some continuity there, I think that that's been looked at and addressed at one point or another as well. So those are all things that have taken place, and then these are current numbers that you have before you.
One thing we forgot to mention too, and maybe you have an update on this too. In our executive council meeting, we had discussed maybe sending out a survey through the Teachers Association to just get teachers' perspectives on how they feel class sizes are and what their, you know, most comfortable range is for class size. Have we discussed that with them yet?
We haven't, we
Okay.
haven't got to that yet.
Okay. Kinsey, that's coming.
Fine,
Surprise. Yeah, I think that the key here is just really, there's going to be a ton of information to digest. And so if we have these numbers to start looking at, we start looking at development, we hear from our teachers and staff, if we can utilize the software. I know we talked about maybe this summer seeing the mapping out of where our students are at and just really taking a deep dive into this is kind of the idea here. So board members, what I would like to do is open this up. If you've got questions for Dr. McDonald as you're looking through this enrollment data, just know this is going to be an ongoing conversation. So if you get home tonight and you're like me and it's 3 a.m. and you go, oh, I meant to ask that question, we'll be talking about the same type of conversation moving forward. But any questions you have, any areas of concern that you see, those types of things.
So we don't have any 3-track grades right now.
No,
Was that
but
last year we
we,
had a kindergarten that was 3-track?
Well, we have, yes, but we have schools that are built for 3-track.
No, I know that, but I mean currently, we had a class last year though, didn't we?
yeah.
Thank you. No, there was, I swear I'm not making this up.
And we're looking at possibly having 3-track for that 3rd grade moving into 4th grade class at Jefferson, right?
the largest
That's,
one right now.
yeah, because that one's got 61 students between 2 teachers, which I don't think is probably at all fair for them.
Bless their hearts. What buildings are all set up for 3-track? Lincoln, Jefferson. That's it? Okay.
Cody has room for some classes to be 3-track. Is that accurate? But probably not all. No, maybe.
Probably
Yeah.
just because 2 of their classrooms are 1-track right now, so it
Yeah.
looks like there's extra classrooms.
Yeah, okay, that's probably what I'm gonna say. I know there was some extra space, but that would be why, because they're just 1-track there.
So as I understand it, we have certain buildings that are we have students that have language needs move into the district or that have special education needs that they are encouraged to enroll in certain buildings. Is that correct?
So, and I will open this up to some of our cabinet members as well, but for our life skills program, we have Lincoln. Absolutely.
That would be helpful. Thank you.
So we have a special education staff in every single one of our buildings. Sometimes we do have a couple buildings. We actually have Adams Middle School and the high school. And then we have next year we'll have 2 elementary buildings that if we have students with more significant needs or need life skills, or just need additional programming, then we as an IEP team, and sometimes I'm not even part of that team because I'm the director and I'm not at every IEP meeting. They make that decision, but I'm very much involved in that process because it is a process. It's just not, oh, we can't meet their needs. That's not how that goes. There's multiple IEP meetings. There's multiple, maybe they need a behavior plan. Like there's multiple things that go into that. So it's not just kind of like a blank statement of some of them don't have programming. That's not actually a accurate statement. All of our buildings have programming for special education.
So do we try to, if somebody does have needs that would fall within life skills, do we try to then send them to an elementary school that has that programming in there, or
Yeah,
do
it could
they
be an
stay in?
option. Yep.
Okay, got it.
Yep.
Because I know that's actually a concern that we've heard on the para side of things with their pay scales. If you're quantified or delegated as a life skills para, you're paid differently than maybe another type of para. And so I know that when they're maybe doing the work that a life skills para would do, but they're not in a life skills program, it causes some issues, I think, just in how we're coding things there too. So I was just curious,
So yeah,
you see that trickle down effect on everybody's role based on where you have your different programs at.
So Kevin and I also make it very clear though, when we hire paras, yes, we do have paras that are life skills. So they may be dealing with, maybe students need, help with feeding or, help with changing. However, when Kevin and I hire paras together, any para, it's kind of like any teacher. You can be asked to do that. So I'm not saying for a para that's not technically a life skills para, no, they're not going to do it multiple times a day, every day.
Okay.
But it's kind of like if I'm in a building, I'm going to help, or I may, even if it's maybe a male student, I'm going to ask a male teacher to help me because we're all educators in that regard. So
Oh, that
yes,
makes
I
sense.
understand what you're saying, but I also want to make it clear that we make it clear to paras that when you're hired, you may have to help them because we need two people when we have a student who needs to be changed. So that's a great question.
And then can you tell us about students with EL needs as well? Like, I know that they have the option to go to whatever building they choose, but some of them maybe with higher needs are encouraged just because we
And
have
actually,
services
that
at
is
certain
probably more
buildings.
Lindsay and Vicky. So I'm actually going to have them come up because this is their expertise. But for special education, you just ask me. I can talk all night.
Thank you. That was very helpful.
Yeah, we can speak on the EL program. So as our EL program grew, last year we were busing students. We'd go pick them up, take them to a location for EL services and then bus them back. So they were missing 60 to 90 minutes of instruction during the day. So in an effort to avoid that, we have 3 EL sites, Jefferson, Washington, and Eisenhower, tried to spread that out across the community for location purposes. And so we have EL sites there. So yes, they are encouraged to attend at an EL site if they want to receive EL services. A family can decline if they do not want to receive services.
We offer the EL programming also at Madison, Adams, and the high school. So once they transition into the middle school, their EL services are offered there. Students are screened upon enrollment to determine their level of proficiency, which determines then the level of services that the child will render or the student will need based on their screening scores. And so then once that happens, the EL team, along with teaching and learning, along with building administrators, along with the staff, all look at what those service minutes would look like. So it's very parallel to special education. And we're very pleased with that the district has allowed us to build the staff out so that we can actually put full-time teachers in those 3 elementary locations. Middle school is a shared, that teacher goes back and forth between the buildings, and then we have staff at the high school. And so then our students are now not, as Lindsay said, they're seeing less instructional time lost.
It's a good idea.
Another question while you guys are up here, because you're the ones to ask this question too. Is there any data that supports class sizes of a certain range being best for students? I think the conversation about what's best for teachers is probably a separate conversation, but as far as for students, is there a range that you're like, this is kind of the sweet spot?
I would say after analyzing data for many years, academically, not usually. Socially, for teachers to, just have more higher job satisfaction, absolutely. So, but I have seen some really large classes perform really well. I've seen some smaller class sizes not perform as well, and vice versa, really. So it's really, there isn't a like set trend, I don't think, on that data.
I think when you get into secondary, that becomes more of a challenge because of all the accreditation components that we have to meet in terms of our course offerings, in meeting both core and elective courses. And so naturally you'll see, like take for career and technical education. Those are all 3 course track programs. And so naturally your introductory level courses are always going to be much higher in number. And then as students, for example, in high school begin to progress through those course pathways or programs of study, and they start to make decisions as to whether or not that's a track they want to stay in, you see those numbers, begin to decline in terms of class size. And that actually, it is a really good question. So, when you put things into perspective, for example, if we have 1,100 kids at North Platte High School, and we know by accreditation and graduation purposes, we need every student, all 1,100 kids have to take English every year, 4 years, and we have 9 staff to serve 1,100 kids to ensure that they meet their graduation requirements. I'm kind of looking at Skip because back when we taught, we had a lot more teachers, didn't we? Quite a few. And so I think it's, it is different in elementary compared to middle school and high school. Just we try to meet those needs. And we just, again, teaching and learning works to put the tools in the teacher's hands that they need to be successful. And hopefully, whether it's a big class or a small class, we're giving them the supports, and build, kind of creating that bridge. Like, for example, you mentioned, the class of Jefferson that's 61. Yeah, that's a lot of students, but, they have been provided some support and they've been allowed to have input and trying to bridge that until the end of the year. And it's sort of an awkward time when you also get students enrolling, and you have 4 weeks of school left. And you can't really maybe go out and hire another additional teacher at that point. And so between HR and special education and student services and all the departments, then we kind of help to triage with the administrators and the classroom teachers to figure out how we can, manage if it does feel big. Because even with elementary students, they grow up, the class size, the size of an elementary class size doesn't change. The structural, physical self of that. So.
Yeah,
Thank you for sharing that. I had done a little research and I hadn't found anything. And I was surprised by that because I think everyone assumes that student success is better in a smaller class, but that's really, I didn't find data that supported that. So I think when we're talking about these things, our focus on this particular issue needs to be more on a staff retention issue.
Absolutely.
Rather than a student data issue, if you're not seeing any trends or concerns there. So thank you. Before we let them up board, does anyone else have any questions for Vicki or Lindsay?
I just had one more question. Could you talk just a little bit more about additional supports, as far as like paras and what else do we do to provide supports for teachers?
Well, I think it depends on, what the needs of those kids are that have been enrolled. If they're EL kids, then we need maybe an EL para to be present along with a general classroom education para. If it's special education, and it's increasing those class sizes, looking at their schedule. I mean, I think Lindsay can probably talk more to the elementary side, in the high school.
Yeah, I think it's just that looking at their schedule, problem solving with their teachers and their building about how they can support that staff. So intervention and enrichment support,
I think extra staff is helpful at times, but then sometimes there's a lot of people in the room, so it's not always extra staff that they would like. It's just maybe resources or certain interventions or enrichment help that they can get assistance with.
Okay.
So Lindsay, with like, well, let's just say Jefferson, because we know they have a lot of
Mhm.
kids and they might be growing because of the way that our trend of our community is. Do you think it would be good to start looking into 3 tracking? Maybe not this next year, but because of the school itself, and I mean, you know it better than.
Yeah, I absolutely do think that would be great. I think the balance is the funding of the
Yeah.
teachers. So I think when you start looking at, I mean, that would be an additional 6 teaching staff at least. And so I think that would be a great idea, but it's just, can we find that balance of where that funding
Right.
lies?
Well, if we start looking at it early enough, maybe.
Yeah. So great.
Thank you.
Yep.
Kevin, have we filled all our elementary openings?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. One thing that I had brought up, and I don't know if there's any precedent to anything like this ever being done, so I don't know the right people that would need to look into something like this, but I brought it up in our executive council meeting when we were discussing having this as an agenda item. But if we're talking about a staff retention issue and staffing is difficult, one thing I would like to look into is what it would look like if we have a class size above a certain amount, if there's any additional stipend or compensation we can offer to teachers who are willing to teach a little bit larger class size. I think that that would be something that would be a little bit innovative for us to look into. I don't know what the legalities are of that, and that is far above my pay grade, so I'm not going to pretend that I do, but just asking questions and throwing out ideas of things that we might be able to consider in those less than ideal situations.
Do we have any updates on kindergarten or preschool enrollment?
Talked to Mr. Mills about that. I believe it's 182 currently. Is that right, Mr. Mills? Yes, sir.
What?
Kindergarten.
Kindergarten.
For kindergarten.
And how does that track with the last couple of years? Are we
At
down
this point,
up?
Like with these numbers.
Go ahead and answer that. Mr. Mills, I think we were in the upwards 200s maybe at that time.
Oh.
So down quite a bit.
Yeah, we always hope for 235, 240. And so we're a lot lower than normal at this time. The other piece that when Dr. McDonald's looking into this, if you look at the great big picture, we've lost enrollment for 16 years. So if you go back to 2010, we had over 2,000 elementary kids. Class sizes were 300 in all of our elementaries. And we've just gone down through the years. So if you think about that, we had 10 schools and now we have 7. So you can see that it's continually declining. And then what we do through the HR department, say in 22-23, we hired a staff for second semester because people started enrolled in the fall. And we hired in 23-24, hired 2 teachers that semester. So we always keep that open and always recruiting in case those numbers go up throughout the fall, people move in. So if you look at it, 2 years ago, we were about the same as we are now. We had 1548, and this year we have 1549. So we're about the same. So it kind of goes back and forth through that whole process. But if you go down through the years, you know, they closed Hall School in 15-16. Then we're down to 9 elementaries for the next 4 years. And then we closed the Osgood and Buffalo merger both in 21-22. So it looks like the big jump came 2021 where we lost 11 sections that we could not fill with a teacher because we did not have enrollment. So that enrollment is now it's kind of steady now around that 1550 mark, 1530 is where we're at. So we always look at that because we added a halftime teacher 2 years ago at Cody for the afternoon to offset that big class. So we're constantly always look at that because enrollment never stops. it continues through that whole process. So I just wanted the board to look at that big picture of not only the class sizes, but the schools, and then how that enrollment has continued to decline. And we've had those single sections. So if you look at this year, we have 2, 3, 4, 6 single sections. So that shows us that that school is not full, but then you have the discrepancy over Jefferson where we have, you know, the 60 kids. And then for next year, we're looking at another 6 single sections. So you can see that enrollment has completely fallen down. So that was a lot more than you asked for.
Well, that was helpful.
Oh, sorry.
2 questions. Do we have, when we're looking at those things mid-year and like as students are coming in, okay, actually 3 questions, I lied. Sorry. What is our current cap number? So like, let's say it's November and a class is growing 5th grade at whatever school has gotten 5 new kids in. What is our cap number of where we say, okay, now we are hiring another teacher for this class?
Well, several years ago, Skip and Joanne probably remember, and Angela, where the board parameters came up with those board parameters of 20 to 22 for K through 2, and then 22 through 24 for 3 through 5. Those were the board parameters set up, I don't know, 4 years ago, maybe. So we try to watch that. What I do is I put those numbers in red when they're getting close. So for example, right now, Cody Kindergarten has 24 kids with 1 teacher. So right now, I asked Cheryl to freeze that, anybody coming in, because we want to look at everything, because we're going to have to hire another teacher, which I have one in my back pocket, by the way. But we're always looking at that. So hard to answer that, but we've been using 28 to 30 in the past.
Okay.
And then, you know, what I always do for Cheryl, because she looks at the same information every day, we put those in red, kind of like stop, and then I'll send her an email. Hey, we're watching Ike, we're watching Cody. Anybody enrolls, please just don't enroll them. Let's have a conversation about it.
So you're saying 28 to 30 and 3 through 5?
Yeah.
Is there a current minimum number of class size? Like there has to be a certain number of kids in a class. Obviously, this is not well, it could be an elementary question, but more in some of those classes, like as we start getting to level 3 coursework at the high school and some of those programs, do we have a minimum that's required in order to have a
I
class?
believe we said 15, correct?
There are some that run less than that. Just depends on if we need to help those kids get to the completion of that particular pathway or not, which is also a factor.
Yeah, I'm not advocating one way or the other. I'm just information gathering. I didn't know if it was
Some
like,
of those are smaller.
you know, if it's less than 5, then we do something independent study instead of having a class period, or I don't know what our practice is with that.
We've tried to set it at 15 for those classes, but like Mr. Psansky said, sometimes a little bit lower. I don't know if we have any of that. Yeah, probably that low.
Okay. I think there are some that are lower than that on here, but they are definitely the upper level
Little
courses.
capstone classes.
Yeah. And then is there a cutoff date? So let's say that you have a 2nd grade class that starts with 22 kids, but you've got people that move in throughout the school year. Is there a date in the school year where if it grows before this date, we hire another teacher? If there's only 4 weeks left, obviously we're not going to hire somebody for 4 weeks.
Correct.
Is there a cutoff date or anything that we're using for that right now?
I don't know, as just watching the numbers is probably the biggest thing. We do that every day. We update it every day, and then talking to Cheryl all the time to see who's enrolling. Then the other part is making sure that we're recruiting to make sure that we do have possible staff. And you will know that old song and dance with the shortage of staff, shortage of teachers.
And
So-
we don't, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I just was gonna make a couple of comments. One being that I know that you guys try to look at family situations too, so that if there's, for example, with the Jefferson classrooms, if there's a family that also has a kindergartner and a 5th grader, but then that 3rd grader, you know, is gonna, that you try to evaluate those situations too, to try to keep them together. And then also just where you were mentioning the declining enrollment, and this might actually be a good report. for this board to see, because I think it's been a little while since we've seen that, just kind of the historical trend, because a lot of people like to comment that we're losing enrollment to neighboring schools. And as far as I remember, and maybe Skip can verify, that that number has stayed fairly stagnant, that it's not enrollment necessarily to neighboring schools that we're losing. It's for other reasons that we're losing enrollment.
Yeah, and like I said, it's staying pretty steady with elementary around that 1520 to 1550 period. So.
Yeah, but over the last like 10 years, I think, you know, students that are going to the area schools, it's that number has stayed fairly flat. So
About 500. Well, and if you look back, I thought it was interesting that we had 104 elementary teachers in 2011, 2012, and we're down to 72 now. So you can see the teachers obviously go with enrollment. As enrollment goes down, then we don't, through attrition, we don't fill those. So that's a pretty big, that's a lot of staff.
And we don't really have any data on that number that's declining in our enrollment. Right? Like, the last time we talked about it was what you were saying, some are through the neighboring schools, that sticks around the 500, but then the others are we just have moving out of the district or neighboring schools. We don't have any actual, this is why I'm.
Well, we do track it where they're going, but I don't think we've said, you know, 7 people went to Texas or anything like that.
Right.
But we do make comments of where they're moving out of state, wherever they're going. We do
I think that we also look at our census too.
in the census data,
We
correct?
we try to see,
Yep.
you know, what the trend is with parents and
That makes
younger
sense.
families, and, you know, if we're having larger families or if we're not, or what that looks like, so.
I know we've talked about this before, but I know we've changed some things in the last year or so with our strategic plan and information gathering. Do we have data as to why those students are leaving? I think as we're looking at enrollment numbers, when we know that they are, you know, opting into a different district, do we know why? Do we have good data on that?
No, because we can't ask that.
Okay, got it. That
Right.
is unfortunate. Is that a legal reason we can't ask on that, or?
Well, yeah, because it's their personal decision to do that.
Okay, so we can't like have them
But-
opt into a
well, that's one of the
survey if
first
they want to?
Was one of the first things I asked, because when I was hired here, I asked about option enrollment because I was somewhat shocked coming from the metro where we brought kids in.
Right.
And they answered me, it's like, no, we lose all 500 kids. And it looks like it's been for a lot of years. It's been.
Yeah.
So I don't know why it started. People maybe they went to school there and they want their child to have that small environment.
Right.
A couple of others talked about it. Maybe it's sports related. Maybe we're class A, you go to class D. That's a big pull for a lot of families. You can play a lot more activities through that. So I think there's numerous reasons, but I don't think we have a clear set of data on that.
Okay.
Do you have statistics on how many kids have optioned out through the year for like this year or last year?
Yeah, we have all the option numbers. Yes, ma'am.
I think that would be something to look at.
Yeah, I think, you know, it's hard. Like, I think a lot of our decisions with enrollment are hard because we're all trying to predict the future.
Right.
And none of us has that ability. You know, we have the data over the past 15 or so years that we can look back at, and we can see that enrollment decline has stabilized, which is encouraging. That's obviously what we want. We hope it grows, but none of us know what the future holds. But I think what data would be really valuable if there's some way that we could capture why the students who do live in our district are leaving the district. And I don't know what that would look like. Maybe that truly is just not an option at all. But I just social media is not the end all be all, but every once in a while there's something that comes up that it gets like 200 comments on it from people saying they pulled their kids out of here because of bullying. And I mean, normally I ignore a lot of that stuff, but 200 comments is hard to ignore. And so if there are things like that we really knew, like, hey, this is a problem, then we could work on fixing the problem and not just speculating on hoping people move here in the future or stop leaving. So I'd like us to look into what options there might be. I know obviously you can't force people to tell you, and at that point, if they're leaving, they're probably upset or whatever has happened, but I just think that would
If
be
you had,
really
like, a
valuable.
exit interview or something that was just like, yeah, we'll send your files as soon as you fill out this interview. And just a short,
I don't think you can require it.
well, if they
That's what
don't fill it
Kevin
out, it's
said.
fine. We'll wait 2 days and then we'll just send it.
Like where they put the dollar in the envelope and send it to you.
Yeah, right.
I
Exactly.
just take the dollar and throw it away.
There you go.
Any more questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate that. Okay. Any
think-
further discussion from board members?
I think I'd really like to hear from the teachers for, I mean, even discussing it more, because I want to know how they feel, where they stand.
All right. The side of the room has been quiet. Do we have anything over here? Questions that you have or?
For Kevin. So,
All right. Well, if there are no further questions on this, then I think that this has been a good conversation for us to get a lot of information. And I think we'll have some more time to look over these numbers. And what I would like to see is us maybe bring this back as a discussion item once we've got results from our teachers on the survey. Once we've all had a little bit more time to look over this a little bit more carefully. And then, Dr. McDonald, you had thought probably June or July, we'd be able to have some data with mapping of where students are going to school. Is that still accurate?
Yeah, we can get some
Okay.
information there. You bet.
Okay, I think that would be really helpful too. Okay. Thank you, guys. That was a great discussion. Our next agenda item, we do have a series of action items here. So the first one, I just want to clarify before we have any motion on the table that this particular agenda item, there's not a whole lot that we are able to discuss or share due to personnel law. So I will entertain a motion. We'll second. If there are any questions that we are able to answer, we sure can, but we're going to be fairly limited on what can be shared here. And then we'll move on. So at this time, I would entertain a motion to approve the resignation agreement of Nicole Seipel.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any board members have any questions? Okay. Sheila, roll call, please.
Aye.
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 aye. Aye.
Okay. Motion passes. At this time, we do have another agenda item. I think the attachment on here is actually might be the incorrect attachment as I looked at it today.
I was gonna ask about that because if it's for we approved that in April.
Yeah, it's not. So you'll see there in the rationale that it's for the Amplified School Finance Meeting. My guess is it probably just got copied from before and it probably copied over the same attachment. Yes. So just to clarify, the president's retreat was back in February and was delayed. We missed a month, so it was on last month's for reimbursement. And as such, this one was also delayed a month. So this was actually back in March. You probably remember hearing my report from attending the Amplified School Finance Meeting. Both happened in Kearney, so both are for the same amounts. So I will obviously be abstaining from this vote, but I would entertain a motion if someone wished to make one to approve the mileage reimbursement.
I move to approve the mileage reimbursement for Emily Garrick to the Amplified School Finance training that was held in Kearney.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion on that? Okay, Sheila, roll call, please.
Aye.
Abstain?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Our next item, we will discuss this first. So we will actually wait to have a motion on the table on this one. But if we get a point that we feel we wish to approve this, it is on here as an action item, has been advertised as such. If not, we do not have to take motion on this evening. So you will see an updated attachment for policy 3023. So after hearing from staff at our last couple of meetings, there have been some changes to the vault section. So first and foremost, I would recommend glance very carefully at that. Basically, the change here broke down the different possible reasons for accessing vaults, what that appropriate use would look like, and who within each use should have access to make those requests. And so that was hearing the concern about if there is a student issue that would need to be investigated, giving our building principals the ability to make that request from the technology department. And it just kind of clarifies a little bit further through there what those different roles would look like in that. I tried to be careful to not get too into the weeds here because I really do believe that most of these details should be worked out in a procedures manual, which I think has already been started. But I do want the policy to be very clear about what appropriate use of vault is and what that looks like. And I do want to clarify on here something that I think needs to be said. I have heard that the board is only talking about this because of board emails. And I want to be clear that, at least from my standpoint, that is not the case. I don't necessarily think it's appropriate for anyone's emails, staff, students, board, administrators, to be monitored unless there is a reason for a concern. If there is a concern, then by all means, we should not be tying anyone's hands to address that. But if there's not a concern, I don't think any staff member's email should just be read just because. So that's kind of where I'm coming from here. Those are my thoughts. I would like to open that up for any discussion, any questions. Joanne, I know you had a suggestion, so I want to make sure I give you the opportunity to share that as well.
Yeah, so Emily and I had a little bit of a conversation just about the monitoring or surveillance portion of it. And I had some language that I was able to just get to her today. My weekend was a little bit full, so I apologize
You
for
were
the
busy,
late
it's okay.
the late suggestion, but I'll just read it, and then if you guys are interested in learning more, I guess we can share it in another way. But it says the district vault system may be used for lawful district purposes, including records retention, compliance, cybersecurity, system administration, investigations, and monitoring activities necessary to protect district operations, security, users, and property.
And that would replace the first highlighted paragraph.
Yes. And actually, as I've thought about it, I'd have to, it could maybe even sum up some of the other, but that would, I guess, be some more, that would be more conversation that we would maybe need to have as far as that goes. But it, I think it's just, it's a little bit more simplified.
Okay, time out. So you want to replace the vault access shall be limited to documented lawful district purpose. That just the little 3 lines?
Yeah, well, and like I said, as I was thinking about it some more, it could actually, because I think just that one sentence is pretty encompassing of a lot of the other pieces within that.
The bullet points
Mhm.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I say that just because I think while we want the procedure to be more specific, I think the policy could be more generalized. And then just procedurally, I think things could be clarified a little bit more, so.
So this was made more specific because of the concerns that were brought to us by Officer Johnson and by Brian Tegmeyer, feeling like there were some holes in it from before. So I want to be cautious because I think it needs to be specific enough that it's not causing confusion, which I think is where we were at before. But also not so specific that there's not room to be able to define those procedures.
Right.
So I think that that's a balance that we're trying to strike here. I did hear back from both Officer Johnson and Brian Tegmeyer and our district's legal counsel as well on this policy, and all three said that they felt better about this than what was presented before. And one other thing I should make mention of out loud is that this policy version does not have any changes to the security camera footage portion of the policy. And I want to be clear, I still think that's something we need to address as a board. But I also recognize that we need to spend a little bit more time on that. And if we're looking at getting a different security camera footage system that has auditing capabilities, that's probably going to shape what a future policy would look like anyways. So
Yeah.
for the time being, that part has been removed. My recommendation would be that we hold off on making changes to that portion of the policy. So this is where we are. Those are the individuals that I have heard back from.
And Officer Johnson liked this.
Yes, and he also appreciated waiting on the security camera piece.
And Brian liked how this was worded. also.
Yes, he had one question. Let me pull up so I don't like to interpret people's words, so let me just pull it back up. Okay. He had one question, just making sure that he felt like we were covered with if there were an issue with a court subpoena, but he thought that the paragraph or the bullet point that suggested basically other requirements of law, he thought that that covered that. Similarly, Bobby, our attorney, had questioned like if we ever needed to use Google Vault for instance, student records or something of that sort. He hadn't seen that ever happen, but he felt like it probably was still encompassed through those bullet points as well.
I'm also wondering if there's a way, and not, I know that we have students mentioned specifically in here, and we also have employees mentioned specifically in here, but I'm wondering if there's a way that we could. I feel like the policy that we have that's specific to the board covers a lot of the pieces as far as, you know, what can be accessed as far as the board. And so I'm kind of questioning if some of that can be more generalized. I'm not exactly sure what other safety concerns there could be outside of students and staff, but I guess maybe there could be, I don't know, some things with that too. I'm trying to get this to zoom in again, and it's.
I liked your wording, Joanne, that you initiated, that you read a little bit ago to take place of that first paragraph. I like that better than what this is. Again, I think I'm leery of getting too specific on some of these. And it was like the bullet points here, as I was looking at them, there's an order, I think, that would be even same ones, but in a different order. And I was worried also, it talked about the vault access shall be maintained by the technology department and reviewed annually. By whom?
Their procedures would be reviewed annually as part of the
Well,
handbook process.
Vault access, so they are the ones that are going to review it annually?
No, it would be part of the handbook process that it would be looked at.
Yeah, but who would do that?
The same people that review the handbook. And I mean, we have all of our directors and administrative team that provide feedback with the handbook, and then it's brought to the board for discussion and questions. So I would envision it being probably similarly part of that process.
Yeah.
I mean, that can certainly be changed. I would be very open to any suggestions.
So I will say that I do like this draft a lot better than what we had before. I think there's maybe just a few minor tweaks that could still be made, and also recognize that no policy is ever perfect. So, I think that's something, but, I guess in my feeling is if we could give it just a little bit more time, I think we could probably maybe by our next meeting have this wrapped up. So not necessarily committee of the whole, but you know, our next regular meeting, but
So.
I agree.
If we replaced that first sentence with what you read, you would feel comfortable with this?
well, I think if we could maybe have that sent out so that people could think about it a little bit.
Yeah, I'd like to compare the two.
Yeah,
'cause I didn't know
because
where you were
where you
replacing.
guys don't have it in front of you, it's a
Mhm.
little bit difficult to
Yeah.
kind of know where it's at. But I think we're really close in getting this wrapped up.
I am happy to do that. I'm happy for discussion. I personally am not, I would not be in favor of replacing that first paragraph with that sentence. I'm not saying that there's not something else we could probably find some compromise on. But I feel pretty strongly that we need language in there that says this is not just for routine monitoring of or surveillance of staff or students or board members. I just think like we talk about building a culture of trust, this is not building a culture of trust when somebody can read your email at any time without any documented reason or concern at all. I don't think that that's good. I don't think it's good for anybody.
Well, I think that's horrible. And it's even worse when we have staff losing their jobs because they've sent an email that is not inappropriate. It's asking a question. So, yeah, I would like to see what you said so that I can compare the two together. But I definitely wanted to say routine monitoring and surveillance and definitely of staff and students and board members since my email was monitored regularly.
Well, should we table it until?
Yeah.
Committee of
Yeah,
the
we
whole?
don't have a motion on the
There
table.
isn't a
So
motion.
we don't need to table it. That's why we
Okay,
discussed.
so
before
we
making
can
a
just,
motion.
you'll
Beat a-
just
beat a
replace,
dead horse later.
so we can see the difference.
Yeah, I can
Okay.
send out an updated version with that language changed to the first paragraph so that you can see both.
Can you do it? Yeah, can you do it without the language change? Just like highlight one pink and leave the one yellow?
Yeah,
Just
we
so
can
I
just
see
put a
them
second
together.
paragraph in there of a different color. Mhm.
Okay.
Yep, absolutely. Are there any other changes when I'm sending that out just for the sake of efficiency and people reviewing it? Are there any other changes that you would like to see in an updated draft at this time? Skip, did you have any changes to that last paragraph that you wanted to make that you would feel more comfortable with?
No, I just had a question about who was gonna review those.
Okay.
Serious.
Okay, what would you like that added in there as language that is more specific?
Yes.
Okay, I will make a note of that. I am honestly just kind of tired of throwing mud at a wall and hoping you guys like it. So specific recommendations are very helpful. Thank you. You think of anything else, please let me know. I'll probably let this sit for a day before I work on it and I will get that drafted up and make sure we have it before the next meeting. So if you do have something else you want to see, by all means, just let me know. Thank you. All right, our last action item of this evening is to adopt the class of 2026 graduation proclamation. So I would first entertain a motion to adopt the proclamation for the class of 2026.
I'll make a motion to adopt the proclamation for the graduating class of 2026.
Second.
Okay, and I will read this proclamation. Honoring the graduating class of 2026. Whereas the North Platte School Board recognizes the immense dedication, perseverance, and achievements of the graduating class of 2026. Whereas these graduates have demonstrated exceptional academic excellence, leadership, and community involvement throughout their educational journey. Whereas the graduating class of 2026 has exhibited resilience and adaptability in the face of unprecedented challenges, showing remarkable strength of character and determination. Whereas the educators, administrators, staff, families, and community members have provided unwavering support, guidance, and encouragement to nurture the growth and success of these graduates. Whereas the graduating class of 2026 embodies the values of scholarship, integrity, and compassion, serving as role models for future generations. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the North Platte School Board that we extend our heartfelt congratulations and best wishes to the graduating class of 2026. We commend you for your accomplishments, celebrate your potential, and look forward with great anticipation to the positive impact you will make in your future endeavors. Signed on this 11th day of May, 2026. Any discussions? All right, Sheila, roll call, please.
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, motion passes. And real quick, before you leave, we do have some actual significant updates for our future board calendar. As we started breaking down the calendar for the board in our executive council meeting, there were several committee of the whole meetings that were going to have potential issues. So the committee of the whole meeting in May will be on the same date, but Dr. McDonald will be absent for that meeting. So just kind of a heads up for the board on that. Our committee of the whole meeting in June was originally scheduled to be in Jefferson. We are moving that particular meeting here to McKinley to better support Dr. Eshelman with some things she's got going this summer. And then in July, we moved the July 30th meeting to July 23rd, as all of our administrators will be at administrative days that day. And that happened to fall very late in the month as it is with the dates. So we felt that that would be a more appropriate timing. And then finally, sorry to be the bearer of bad news on this one, but we did add a committee of the whole meeting in December. If the board is okay with that, and I hear no big grumbles, the thought process there would be that that would allow us, one, to go to Jefferson, which we'll be missing this summer. The date that we're looking at would be December 3rd. The past year or so, we did not have November and December committee of the whole meetings due to the dates they fell with Thanksgiving and Christmas. But I also felt like then when we came back in January, we had a lot to accomplish in January, and there was some catching up that needed to be done. So that one is spaced kind of in between the holidays. The hope was that it wouldn't interfere with anyone's travel plans, holiday celebrations, but would still give us the opportunity to be at Jefferson as well. So that is what we are looking at. We can put together an updated schedule. Dr. McDonald, maybe that schedule we have of committee of the whole dates, we might just need to scrap the original one and put together a new one. If you'd attach it maybe to, or Brandon, to our weekly update. Is that acceptable? Okay, okay. Perfect, thank you. All right, any questions about that? Okay, hearing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, roll call, Sheila.
Aye.
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 Meeting adjourned.